fantastic memories. We had a wonderful last game in Calcutta. We were struggling here the previous 3 occasions, and we were sort of a bit under the pump. We had a rather aggressive team meeting, I would say, just before the game started, where there was a little bit of abuse going on, for good measure. The boys were then totally pumped. We're going in with a very positive frame of mind. It was Stokesy's last game before he left, so he was pumped as well. Jofra was pumped. Rian was super pumped. One of his first few games for the Royals. Calcutta had always done well in Calcutta, but what we knew was that it was a different type of wicket at the Eden Gardens that day, and we played Jofra Archer and O'Shane Thomas, the 2 fast bowlers. And as soon as that happened, along with JD, and as soon as that happened, that just sort of put them a little bit on the back foot in terms of how they were going to approach it, because they weren't expecting O'Shane and Jofra to be playing in the same game. They did bat halfway decently. We were in control of the game, then we lost control of the game. We came back quite strongly, and then in the batting we again were a little up and down, and then Rian played beautifully, and Jofra finished it off for us. So it was a wonderful day at Eden Gardens, and we're looking to repeat many such occasions in the future.
Good. So positive memories from Calcutta. So you're obviously here for the auction. You've been a part of quite a lot of auctions, so you're pretty experienced in the process. Big ones, small ones through
Indeed.
the years. What do you feel at auction time?
I think it's trepidation, not knowing. You simulate and you discuss and you plan and you watch videos and everything happens. And now we run algorithms and we've got data and etc., and hopefully artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. But in very simple terms, we cannot predict what somebody's going to do on the night with the paddle. So no matter what we run, we're always in that certain space of uncertainty, which nobody really knows till that paddle actually goes up. So you are very much blinded by that. No matter how well you prepare, you always have to sort of know that something can come out of left field and screw up your plans.
So those preparations, I think, are fascinating. I'm sure the fans at home would love to know what you do behind the scenes. I'm sure some things are very secret, but talk me through what the Royals do.
Yeah, so effectively, I mean, there are 2 or 3 parts to the process. One is a simulation exercise, and what we do is we have a team of people who sort of sit for Mumbai Indians or for Sunrisers or for CSK, and they actually are dedicated to that one team a few months before the auction. So they prepare themselves as if they were CSK or as if they were Sunrisers or as if they were Mumbai Indians. And so when we sit down at a table and start simulating, the feeling is quite real, in a sense that they are looking for a particular player because they don't have that particular player, and so the person bidding for that particular team is then starting to bid similar to what they have, what they need. Plus what we also factor in is that what has happened in the past. So there are certain teams that bid in certain ways. They like to be top heavy, in the sense they like to bid very hard, for the superstars up front. Some don't. So we actually factor all that into the simulation, so we can get really accurate, and we hope we are 80+% accurate in deciding who goes where and at what price. So once that's finished, then we side by side in parallel, we're also looking at videos. Any youngster that's sort of in the auction, we try and find a video of that youngster. It's much easier these days with the BCCI filming most of the domestic cricket matches, so it's really easy to get footage. So we don't always have to sort of have a trial every now and then. We do have one, but we can do without them as well because of the footage that's available. And then the last part of the puzzle is actually calling those guys that we've shortlisted to the trial to ensure that we can see them face to face. Often, we'd have 2 or 3 guys of similar ability. How do you distinguish? So if you look a guy in the eye, he comes and performs in front of you, then you sort of have that extra level of confidence that when you go into an auction scenario and you've got to bid extra few paddles for somebody, you're really confident because you've seen the guy firsthand, you've tested him out. Obviously we have our own methods of how we do it, and then you're sort of finally at that auction table deciding for somebody. And we've done it for a number of players, just from the recent past. Krishnappa Gautam was one of them, and he was somebody who came to the trial. We saw him there, and then we bid for him. Shreyas Gopal was very similar, and in the past there were other players who went through the same process.
So it comes to me that it's a data-centric approach, but then actually it's also feel about the player.
Completely.
Well.
I think you simply cannot do without the feel. I think the last mile has to be feel, has to be judgment, and that's where that big question mark around data, algorithms and artificial intelligence, and where that's going, and whether there's just that one element of judgment that is actually required at that last moment to distinguish between what might end up being a superstar versus somebody who's going to be really good too, but there is that slight difference, and I think judgment does play a role somewhere along that line.
So it's an unpredictable auction. We don't really know what's going to happen, but with the other franchises in the room, any secrets, any inclinations of what they may do?
Yeah, completely. I think as you study it and as you sort of sit down and go through it, you have year after year, you have a very clear inclination of certain teams that, as I said, will go after certain players and certain types of players and certain category of player. Plus, it's so clear once you have a team in second or third year of the auction cycle where you already know the gaps in the team, you know who they've released, you know who they've retained. So actually it's pretty clear who's going for who. Sometimes you just don't know whether, if there are two batters, left or right. I mean, you're not sure whether they might go this way or that way, but you pretty much know that they're going for these many batters or these many bowlers and so on and so forth. So you can get very accurate with your predictions of what other people are doing.
So just moving away from the auction, Andrew McDonald's just joined as head coach. Are you excited to work with him? What will he offer the team?
Yeah, it's fantastic to have Andrew with us this year. I think he has sort of graduated within the last 6 months that we've known him to now being sort of coming to India as the head coach of the Australian side. So we're really excited that somebody of that stature and ilk is with us. What he brings is a real balance to everything, his thought process and how he looks at things and how he manages things. He seems to be very clued up on communication. He's very sort of sound with that. He's sound with his judgment. And so we're looking at somebody who is, maybe the future of coaching. And we're really excited that he's now with us, so we can build a really nice future with him into the IPL.
So we're just a few months away actually from the IPL. It will come around pretty fast.
Yeah.
What's the process from the auction through to the IPL? How will you get the team prepared and the coaching?
Yeah, I think that's a key part of something that we do as the Royals, and we've always done, which is we rely on contact time. And although the schedules are difficult, I think the most important part of our process leading up to there is how much coaching we can provide and how many inputs we can provide, not just physical but also mental inputs, and bring it all together in a neat little package just before the start of the tournament. We've done that year on year. We think that's a crucial aspect of what we do in our preparation. We also take that into the tournament, so we often don't blood youngsters straight away. We keep preparing them as the tournament progresses, and then we find a way to get them into the tournament somewhere halfway or 3/4 of the way or even quarter of the way into the tournament, depending on
someone like a Riyan Parag, for example.
Exactly. And we've done that not just with Riyan Parag, we did that right at the beginning with even somebody like Ajinkya Rahane. He came into the side, didn't play half the season. We were preparing him, getting him ready, and then eventually he went on to the success that he did.
So the Royals have built a nice core in the squad. Why is that important for a franchise to have a core, and how does that shape what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think continuity is one of the critical aspects of success in this short form of the game. I think you could see it with somebody like CSK, who've retained probably 3 or 4 guys right from 2008, including their captain. That says a lot, and I think that continuity is critical to success in the IPL, and I think the more we retain that core over a 6 or 9 year period, the greater the chance of success.
So just moving back into the auction, a couple of interesting questions. So who's been the most highly pressured player you've bid on, and why, over the years?
I think highly pressured occasion was when we were bidding for JD a couple of auctions ago. We really knew we wanted a left arm seamer in our side. and the auction was getting very tight in terms of the numbers, and we were just hanging on with a thread. I think if there was one more bid, we would have lost him. But we were sort of justified in what we did because JD actually got us to the playoffs. And so that was a really gratifying moment, that with all that pressure that we had to face, and we just threaded the needle there. We were really excited, but the pressure isn't. I don't think you can describe the pressure. I think it's just when you're in that moment, you just have to find a way to distract yourself and just hope that somebody doesn't pick up the paddle again. So in that hope, we continue to sort of find a way to get past all the pressure and then sort of end up at the player you need.
And who's been the biggest steal for the Royals?
I think we've had a number of steals over the years. That's just how the Royals function. We plan on finding those steals. I think in the overseas section very recently, if we were discussing, I think Josh Butler was a bit of a steal. We thought Mumbai would have a RTM on him or potentially bid higher. He wasn't on our list per se, as in on our first list, but he was on our sort of our chase list, and we thought, we kept chasing, and for some reason Mumbai opted to stop at a certain number. We had one more bid there, and we got him. Yeah, and as I said, he wasn't on our main list, but on our chase list, just because we thought that Mumbai would just retain him on an RTM or something like that. So he was from the overseas side. From the Indian side, of course, there have been many. Recently, we had Shreyas Gopal, who came. Again, he came to our trial, showed us what he had. We were very confident. In fact, we had a big number to put down on him, maybe a crore or two. But nobody else bid, and we got him at base price. Even more recently, we had Riyan Parag, who did fantastically well last season. But during the auction, we again sort of thought he was coming out right at the end. And I think we went a few rounds by letting him go, and then eventually we just got him at base price. So a couple of those in the recent past have been pretty impressive steals.
So Zubin, Christmas is just around the corner.
Perfect.
You get to bid on one ex-Royals player in the auction. Who would it be and why?
Okay, I'll go with two, and I'll tell you why. So I'll go with Warney to start with, simply because of his belief to win and what he did with the ball in year one. I mean, he would take the ball in some of the most difficult situations and deliver. So you want that level of hunger to succeed and belief in knowing his own ability to get batsmen out and to outthink batsmen. I don't think there was anybody better than that. So he would be one. The other underrated player at the time that we picked for T20, underrated, not overall, was Rahul Dravid. And the reason he was picked was, I think back then we were going on a stat which said that it was better to be 40 to 45 for no loss or one wicket down than be 60 for 2 or 3. So we were looking for a batsman who could hit it along the deck and not get out. And we couldn't find anyone better than Rahul Dravid to do that. So for the role that he played at that time, again taking us to qualification, captaining the side, these two, combination of these two would be lethal to have at this stage.
And the last question: if you could sum up the auction in one word, what would it be?
Trepidation.